Yeah, hello, hello. Another glorious session this afternoon. No? We really hope that you had a hearty lunch. So this morning, we had a very fruitful and meaningful session with top officials of PICPA, the PICPA Foundation, as well as NACPAE. And we were so privileged to have with us the no less than the chairman of the Board of Accountancy, Honorable Noe Quinanola, who discussed the conceptual or the competency framework rather, and its implication to the accountancy profession. No? And of course, how can we forget the very informative talk of Dr. David Pedralin of San Beda University, our research director and vice president for academic affairs. And she gave several inputs on how to address the many challenges that we're encountering in the accountancy research. And for this afternoon, we are really very pleased to have this time two research paper presentation. The first one was done by students from the University of Santo Tomas, and then the next one would be coming from the faculty members of University of San Jose Recoletos. No? A number of students are in the audience right now. We really appreciate very much their coming in because this is another learning experience for all of them, hoping that someday they too will be able to present their accountancy research paper in this kind of forum. No? So before we present to you these students and faculty members, may we request Professor Dr. Jackie Moreno to share with us the process of deliberation on these accounting research papers. Okay, so we welcome Dr. Jackie Moreno.
Hi everyone, I hope that you're hearing me perfectly. So I am sharing my screen. Okay. All right, okay. So we will start, okay? Okay, so reaching the 2020 Research Summit. So basically, we would like to start off with the appreciation of how the Research Summit and all the presenters have come to this day. So firstly, for this fiscal year 2020-21, we wish to acknowledge the members of the subcommittee on this research summit. Namely, we have Professor Christine June Uy, Professor Mark Vincent Bendo, Professor Ryan Roque, and after so much of postponement due to inevitable circumstances, we finally have reached the summit. The process may appear to involve only 4 major phases. You'll be seeing here the second, the third, and then the fourth, okay? So just to pull off the events such as the Research Summit, but from the PICPA Foundation's call of papers, which is outright a long waiting time already to encourage both students and professional researchers all over the Philippines, we have come to this day. The subcommittee sat on the evaluation of the titles and the abstracts received. In a while, we will briefly have a run of the criteria we use to determine which abstract got accepted and which will not make it to the run. Notification of acceptance is sent by the subcommittee, And breaking the norm of mere notification, the subcommittee for this year also provided some initial comments to the accepted groups and professionals to enable them to improve their papers even before this day. All researchers studiously worked on their full paper submissions. Indeed, we want to commend the researchers who will present for these 2 days. The pandemic challenges were not easy. In fact, some students and professionals already expressed their non-pursuance of their paper submissions. Basically because they have, some professionals had new appointments in their respective organizations, and some students already have or are already undergoing their review, not undermining that it is difficult to think of research at this time when many actions are limited, including the essential data gathering. Lastly, the findings and recommendations of research are nothing if not conveyed to the community of stakeholders. The researchers need to show their creativity in presenting the vital parts of their research to us. Today, you will see the product of their labor and love for study, as you say. Apart from the organizers, we congratulate all the more the presenters in this research summit, as their academic valor will be witnessed by all of us joining this webinar. Now let us try to see the criteria these men and women researchers passed to get their papers to be accepted for the 2020 Research Summit. Starting off with the research title. So the subcommittee started off with the title, and just like what we say in auditing, the title of the CPA's report distinguishes one engagement from another, and so it is also in research. The research title should be short enough for easy read and still be able to integrate all the variables of the study to facilitate the understanding of the main purpose of the research. It is preferred that the subject matter shall present a certain newness or novelty to contribute to in the accounting-related knowledge. For the abstract, each sentence included should serve purpose of being a good teaser about the full paper's contents. The subcommittee adapted the guidelines of Manchester University for evaluating abstracts. The definitions were operationalized by the subcommittee to suit the assessment of the submissions at hand in the student and professional level. The introductory statement, the purpose of the study, alongside with the methodological approach and findings and recommendations, are assessed of their clarity and appropriateness for academic writing. So we gave them, for some, we had given 0 points, but of course, there are some very good papers which came up with 3 points as their markings. Finally, the abstract should emphasize why the full paper will be even worthy to be read and even cited by other researchers in the future. The contribution to discipline is primordial. On the technical side, the writing must be formal and appropriate for possible inclusion in reputable publications. And all these important matters should be taken up in 250 to 300 words. Imagine that. With this said, I hope all of us would have a more appreciating view of the process of evaluation and the preparation of the research summit. We should now be all ears to our presenters. Back to you, Dr. Alahar.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jackie. For our first presenters, we have students and graduates of the University of Santo Tomas. The presenters are the following: Angela Merrill Kanay, a graduate of BS Accountancy UST, class of 2020, former member of the Tomasian Youth Builders and Junior Philippine Institute of Accountants UST chapter. Then we also have Crisel Angelique Dizon. She's presently enrolled, taking accountancy UST, former member of the JPIA UST chapter. Then we also have in the group Shane Magbanwa. presently enrolled accountancy, former member of the Red Cross Youth Council, Accountancy Unit, and JPIA USD chapter. We also have Janelle Peregrino, an alumna of Bachelor of UST as well, former member of Pax Romana, Accountancy Unit, Junior Philippine Institute of Accountants, UST, and the National Federation of JPIA NCR. And Ms. Joanna Young, Bachelor of Science in Accountancy as well, former member of JPIA UST chapter. Their technical advisor is no less than Dean Pat Empleo of the College of Accountancy of the University of Santo Tomas. Their paper is entitled Selected Countries' Financial Reporting Treatment of Cryptocurrency Transactions, Basis for PFRS Proposal. So let us all welcome these young researchers from the University of Santo Tomas.
A pleasant day to all of you. With great honor and pride, we present to you our research study entitled Selected Countries' Financial Reporting Treatment of Cryptocurrency Transactions, Basis for PFRS Proposal. In behalf of my thesis mates, Ms. Crisel Dizon, Ms. Shane Magbanwa, Ms. Janelle Peregrino, and Ms. Joanna Young, in collaboration with our technical advisor, Dean Patricia Empleo, we all thank you for the opportunity to share with you our hard work. To start the presentation, the terms used in the study are defined as follows. Cryptocurrency, also called as digital currency or virtual currency, which encryption techniques are used to regulate the generation of units of currency and verify the transfer of funds, operating independently of a central bank. Using of cryptocurrency is completely decentralized, which means there is no intermediary or third party like banks are involved to make a transaction. It is a peer-to-peer transaction, and generation of a unit of cryptocurrency is protected using algorithm, which a process called mining crunch transactions to make a unique code for every transaction for security purposes. And a ledger called blockchain store all the transactions between the involved parties. For the theoretical framework, aside from the new conceptual framework used as the basis for the revised definitions of assets, liabilities, measurement, presentation, disclosure, recognition, and recognition, we have also included the positive accounting theory by Watts and Zimmerman. This theory views that the choice for accounting policies is affected by the firm's consideration of contract costs and changing circumstances, thus arriving at having consideration of entities handling cryptocurrency, types of transactions, regulations, and regulatory body to serve as independent variables, and accounting treatment as dependent variable to help us construct our conceptual framework.
The conceptual flow diagram of the conceptual framework explains that from the financial statements of those entities reporting cryptocurrency transactions, the researchers tried to identify the nature of the reporting entity, financial reporting treatment of cryptocurrency, the status of regulations in the countries where these entities operate, the types of cryptocurrencies transacted, and the presentation and measurement of the financial statement. Likewise, the treatment is referred to the applicable requirements of the International Financial Reporting Standards to determine the appropriateness of their application. For the research method, the steps used are gather financial statements of companies with cryptocurrency transactions, determine the financial reporting treatment for cryptocurrency from the selected companies and obtain the justification for such treatment, evaluate the state of cryptocurrency including status, law or regulation, and regulatory body in the selected countries, and lastly, analyze the conformity of the financial reporting treatments with the nature of cryptocurrency. For the subject, the researchers chose 5 countries and the selection was randomly chosen due to the availability of data. For comparison purposes, at least 2 companies were selected and analyzed, and these are the Digital X Limited and Bitcoin Group Limited and controlled entities in Australia, Calyx Ventures Incorporated and Big Blockchain Intelligence Group Incorporated in Canada, China Binary New Fintech Group and Bitmain Technologies in Hong Kong, CMC Market and IG Holdings Group in United Kingdom, Bayside Corporation and Bitcoin Investment Trust in United States of America, and in order to strengthen the research, 1 company was included from the Philippines, which is Surface Incorporated.
Results. We've divided it into 3 parts: financial statement data, other factors, and conformity with the nature of cryptocurrency. I'll start first with the financial statement data. As the name implies, all information gathered here are from the financial statements, and we've grouped it into companies, crypto transactions, treatment, measurement, and recording of gain or loss. I'll first discuss the other countries: Australia, Canada, Hong Kong, United Kingdom, and the United States of America. I'll discuss the Philippines later on. There are 2 main crypto transactions: mining and trading, and we've observed that the treatment used depend on the kind of transaction. For mining, we treat it as an intangible asset, measuring it at its cost. And for trading, they treat it as a current asset, specifically inventory, digital asset, investment, due from brokers, and financial asset. And they measure it at its fair value. All companies, whether mining or trading, records the gain or loss in the profit or loss section. As for the Philippines, Surface Inc. Crypto transaction of Surface Inc. is trading, but the treatment they use is intangible asset, and they measure it at its cost. Only the Philippines, based from our data, differ from our observation that the treatment they use depend on the kind of crypto transaction. And for the next one, we've included other factors in our research, such as the cryptocurrency used and the legal and political environment of each country, or the state of cryptocurrency. Specifically, the status, law or regulation, and the regulatory body. For the status, all country treats cryptocurrency as legal, but only in Australia is it considered as legal tender. For the law or regulation, it depends on the country, but for the United Kingdom and the United States of America, there is no definite law, and for the United States of America, the regulation varies per state. The countries also differ in their regulatory body. For Australia, it's AUSTRAC, which stands for Australian Transaction Reports and Analysis Centre. For Canada, there are 2: Canadian Securities Administrators for cryptocurrency offerings, and Canadian Revenue Agency for exchange and taxation of cryptocurrencies. In Hong Kong, there is no specific regulatory body. However, trading activities are controlled by the Customs and Excise Department. In the Philippines, again, there is no specific regulatory body, but companies with virtual currency transaction should register first with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Both the United Kingdom and the United States of America do not have a specific regulatory body.
After evaluating the factors considered, the financial reporting treatments used by the companies were defined according to their definitions in the PFRS. Then, the financial reporting treatments based on their definitions were analyzed, supposing that they conform with the nature of cryptocurrencies. As shown in the table, the first one is financial asset. It is defined as any asset that is cash, another entity's equity instrument, has a contractual right from another entity to receive cash or other financial assets. It is similar with cryptocurrency, whereas both have no physical substance and are liquid assets. However, cryptocurrency differs with financial assets since it has no contractual right to receive cash or another financial asset and not a cash equivalent because of the volatile changes of market value. Second is intangible asset. It is defined as an identifiable non-monetary asset without a physical substance, which is an asset that is an entity-controlled resource as a result of past events and inflow of future economic benefits is expected. It is similar with cryptocurrency on the grounds that both have no physical substance, capable of being separated from the holder and sold or transferred individually, and does not give the holder the right to receive a fixed or determinable number of units of currency. However, cryptocurrency differs with intangible asset for the reasons that it has no rights and obligations transferred, not devised to deal with items with cash-like characteristics which are held for investment purposes. The third one is inventory. It is defined as an asset held for sale in the ordinary course of business, asset for sale in the ordinary course of business in the production process, and consumable materials and supplies in production. It is similar with cryptocurrency, being that both are held for sale in the ordinary course of business. However, cryptocurrency differs with inventory on the premises that it is not a tangible personal property and is not devised to deal with items with cash-like characteristics which are held for investment purposes. The last one is due from brokers. It is defined as a general ledger asset account that is the amount owed to a company resulting from the company providing credit goods and or services. It is similar with cryptocurrency considering that both have no physical substance. However, cryptocurrency differs with due from brokers for that it has no contractual right to receive cash or a cash equivalent. So as you can see, none of the treatments used totally conform with cryptocurrencies. For comparability, a uniform standard should be assigned.
Conclusion. The researchers therefore conclude that the financial reporting treatment of cryptocurrencies are based on the nature of the transaction. Therefore, a uniform financial reporting standard shall apply to all cryptocurrency transactions by creating a new standard, namely digital assets. Digital assets shall be a current asset, and it shall be initially and subsequently measured at fair value, just like financial assets. And the subsequent gains and losses due to fair value fluctuation shall form part of the profit or loss section of the income statement or statement of financial performance. Recommendations. Further exploration of cryptocurrencies for future regulations which shall govern the use of cryptocurrency, and establishment of a regulatory body for uniform valuation or measurement of cryptocurrencies are recommended by the researchers to the government. On a similar note, it is encouraged that the academy should consider publishing more information regarding cryptocurrencies to increase awareness about the topic. Also, we call the attention of International Accounting Standards Board, or IASB, Financial Reporting Standards Council, or FRSC, and other standard-setting bodies to create a new standard which will cover all cryptocurrency transactions that will help institutions to create a more faithfully represented financial statements. Moreover, this study covered areas which are useful for future research. We propose that future researchers should investigate further in this emerging topic when more data may become available in order to lessen limitations which are present in this research. And that wraps up our presentation. We hope that we've enhanced your knowledge about cryptocurrency through our research. In behalf of my co-authors, thank you for listening and have a blessed day ahead.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. At this point, may we request Mr. Mark Vincent Bendo to provide us with additional inputs or to make some clarifications. or ask to provide some improvements on the paper. So Mr. Mark Vincent Bendo.
Thank you, Dr. Geoffrey. May I ask for access to the video po? Right, so I think I cannot open my camera, but nevertheless, I'll just have to provide you with actually 6 particular items or points, key points that I've noted from this particular paper. I hope you can hear me clearly. First one is on the relevance and the gap identified by the group. The group actually was able to identify this absence of a specific IFRS. That's one. The other one is absence of a law that addresses this particular type of transactions. And number 3 is absence of regulation in the accounting for cryptocurrency. So the group highlighted variations in accounting treatment and presentation of the FS of cryptocurrency, which affects comparability of information and usefulness to stakeholders. So right now, or currently in the Philippines, we have one interpretations issued by the Philippine Interpretations Committee on Cryptocurrencies that is under PIC Q&A 2019-02. Next major contribution of this paper, or next thing that I would like to comment about this paper is that they used secondary data from Osiris, which is actually being encouraged by 2 researchers or by us, by teachers, so that they wouldn't have difficulty in gathering data, because most of the time students have difficulty in data gathering. So because of the pandemic as well, it is more appropriate. It is appropriate, or it's good that the group used secondary data, which was taken from the Osiris database. Next major point or major item or strength of this paper is that the analysis made. They did the content analysis of the published financial statements of entities with cryptocurrency transactions. And they compared actually and contrasted the reporting treatments of these cryptocurrencies. And they also not only did they discuss or they analyze the FS itself or the face of the FS, they actually looked deeper or studied deeper into the notes to financial statements, again, which is also a secondary data that is readily available, which students and practitioners also and researchers could dwell into and somehow get some information that could also be beneficial. So mostly students would stop there on the financial information like the ratios, but this one went deeper actually with the analysis of the notes to financial statements. So that is my third observation and major identified major strength of this paper. Next would be the implication to the contribution to the theory, because they cited here the concepts on classification. What I like about this one is that they compared and contrasted the definition of each particular asset with that of the characteristic of a cryptocurrency, which goes to or which leads us to the next implication or contribution, which is the practice, which provides us things that can be considered by practice. For example, the regulatory bodies, if they could consider having a particular regulation for this one, for companies who are still not into cryptocurrency, but who plans to, companies who plan to buy cryptocurrencies, because right now, if companies are looking into some specific investments opportunities, they could actually have this one. And I also like the concept or the term that they used earlier, the digital assets, which is not similar to the usual intangible asset and inventories. And last, for this particular paper, on the recommendation side, I really admired their recommendation, which is actually based on their findings or the research findings. So they recommended that a reporting standard should be developed to guide cryptocurrency users and miners in the formulation of their accounting policies and to enhance comparability and understandability. So this one is a very sound recommendation. They also made some recommendation to the government and to the academe, and I also think that this one is, aside from what was mentioned a while ago by Dr. Edrelin on sustainability and other hot topics, this could also be included as one of the research agenda that could be pursued not only by students but also by researchers and professionals as well in public practice. So, Dr. Alahar, I think that would be my observation for this paper.
Okay, thank you, Mark, Vincent Bendo, for your valuable inputs. The paper from the students and alumni of UST deserves our special commendation. So at this point, we will be awarding certificates of recognition to the researchers, and of course to the faculty advisor, who happens to be Dean Pat Empleo. So may I read the text of the, may I request once again Professor Florence Tugas and the other officers of the NACPAE to witness the presentation of this certificate. The Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the PICPA Foundation, the National Association of CPAs in Education present this certificate of presentation to Angela Merrill L. Canay, Grisel Angelique T. Dizon, Shane U. Magbanwa, Janelle T. Peregrino, and Joanna E. Yang from the University of Santo Tomas for presenting a research paper entitled Selected Countries, Financial Reporting Treatment of Cryptocurrency Transactions, Basis of PFRS Proposal, given during this second Joint National Accounting Research Summit and Conference on October 19 to 20, given this 20th day of October 2020, signed Lope L. Bato Jr., President of the PICPA, Ms. Evelyn Corpus, Chairman of the PICPA Foundation, and Dr. Florence Tugas, President of the National Association of CPAs in Education. Congratulations once again.
Dr. Alahar, may we also request those members of the research team present here this afternoon to turn on their videos. So I understand the members of this team are present this afternoon in our Zoom conference.
So everybody now, the UST team, kindly turn on your respective cameras.
Thank you.
Yan. Who else are part of the team?
So we have Angela, Grisel, Shane, Janelle, and Joanna. Team UST.
Okay. Sir Flong, can you please assist on checking whether who are still needed to be on video on?
Thank you, Sir Alan. So I'm right now seeing Joanna Yang. Miss Kanay is here, but I don't see her
Miss Kanay
picture or video on. And Miss Kanay is here. Angelique Dizon. Okay, I don't think she's here. Okay, so I think there are only two members, right, Miss Yang, present this afternoon. So we have Miss Kanay and Miss Yang. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, so thank you very much. And once again, congratulations to Team UST. Our next research paper is from the University of San Jose Recoletos. The authors of this paper are the following: Dr. Cedric Val R. Naranjo, Shari Horteliano, Alexander Manugas Jr., and Faith Ferjet Golda Perez. Dr. Naranjo is currently the chairperson of the Accountancy and Finance Department of the University of San Jose Recoletos. He is handling taxation and auditing subjects and the tax reviewer of the PRTC. Shara, Alexander, and Faith graduated already from the University of San Jose Recoletos with a degree BS in Accountancy last October 2019. They are now reviewing for the CPA licensure exams. The title of their paper is The Effect of Excise Tax in Petroleum Products to the Air Pollution Level in the Philippines. So let's welcome the team, University of San Jose Recoletos, for their presentation.
Thank you so much, sir. Can I start my video? Yeah. Okay, am I clear?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, po.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I am Dr. Cedric Val Naranjo of the University of San Jose Recoletos. Okay, so taxation is the lifeblood of the government. So this is the common line that you would find in entering the word taxation or tax in Google. The government would be paralyzed, of course, without the power of taxation, thus cannot properly deliver the basic needs of its people. The principal purpose of taxation is to generate revenue that will be used to defray government expenses, but it's not all about revenue generation. Taxation can also be exercised by the government to regulate the conduct of some activities and to compensate the inequality of wealth. My presentation will focus on the regulatory purpose of taxation. Government imposes excise taxes, or commonly known as sin taxes, as some say, on some product to regulate its enjoyment, or shall we say, for us not to commit sins. Okay, to sins to ourselves because these products are harmful to our health, and also sin to the environment because some of these products are also harmful to the environment. Currently, we have taxes on cigarettes, petroleum, sugar beverages, cosmetic products, automobiles, and to name a few. The question is, do excise taxes really help the government regulate the sale of these products or the performance of some activities? Our research paper will look into this. I, together with my team, Alexander, Shira, and Faith, proudly presents this research paper entitled The Effect of Excise Tax in Petroleum Products to the Air Pollution in the Philippines. According to Heinz Jr. 2017, the four motivations that underlie the use of most excise taxes are revenue generation, profit, application of the benefit principle of taxation, control of externalities, and which is the goal of a number of excise taxes on polluting substances, such as the taxes in petroleum, and to discourage consumption of potentially harmful substances. Odonoghue and Rubin in 2006 supplemented the fourth motivation by stating that irrational consumers begin consuming items that are harmful for individuals without fully appreciating the regret they would experience years later. For example, too much consumption of cigarette or too much consumption of alcoholic products, the effect there in the future, okay, might be harmful. The focus of this study is on the third motivation, specifically on the excise tax imposed on petroleum products. Taxes on petroleum products have been advocated as a way to reduce air pollution and the possibility of global warming to conserve energy. The rise in the imposition of taxes of gasoline consumption has been the result of increasing concerns of air pollution due to pollutants emitted from burning fuels or to its terrifying effects on health. To lessen emission, government will impose tax on products emitting this carbon. It is widely recognized in practice that a tax imposed in carbon must take the form of a tax on the consumption of energy products such as gasoline. So in other words, to regulate the sale of gasoline, they impose taxes so that imposing taxes would lessen the emission of carbon, and less emission in carbon would be good to our environment. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the International Energy Agency, and the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have called on governments to increase gasoline tax rates in order to combat the social and environmental costs of gasoline consumption. That's why with the Philippine government, the current administration, okay, lobbied on the implementation of several tax reform programs. And with the recent implementation of the train law back in 2018, excise tax imposed in petroleum products have increased. Since 1997, but before the implementation of train law, excise tax rates on petroleum products have either been fixed in nominal peso terms or reduced to zero in the interim. Lenigar and Walbeck in 2017 stated that with the consumption of excise taxes on petroleum products, the consumption of these petroleum products will decrease, which will result not to a lower emission from burning these fuels. It is widely known that air emission from gasoline is harmful to the environment. Okay. The vapors given off when gasoline evaporates and the substances produced when gasoline is burned, like carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, particulate matters, contribute to air pollution. The health effects of air pollution are serious. One-third of deaths from stroke, lung cancer, and the heart diseases are due to air pollution. That's according to the World Health Organization in 2018. Thus, the purpose of this study is now then to see if the excise taxes on petroleum products has an effect on the level of air pollution in the Philippines, and to find out to what extent the effect of changes in excise taxes to the level of air pollution. There have been many studies conducted to find out how effective taxes are in reducing air pollution in various countries. So we have here Brovol and Larsen in Norway, Liang et al. In China, Nakata and Lamont in Japan, Wisema and DeLink in Ireland, the Cosmo and Highland and Sterner in various countries. They all concluded that carbon taxes or other similar taxes had a modest effect on the reduction of the carbon of CO2. Okay, so meaning lessen emission of carbon dioxide. The study of Li Lin and Mugliger in 2012 shows that a tax increase reduces gasoline consumption. The decrease of this gasoline consumption would then result to a lower emission of pollutants that increases air pollution. Further studies of Davis 2008 and Li, Lu, and Wang in 2011 states that enforcing more stringent fuel standards will result to a significantly improved air quality. Furthermore, okay, some of the studies found out that government regulation have significantly reduced the regional air pollution caused by driving or the use of gasoline. Studies have shown that by regulating the consumption of fuels, taxes imposed on them will affect the quality of air and level of air pollution. Most of the studies related to the effectiveness of excise taxes on petroleum products is in lessening air pollutions are done outside the country. The focus on whether taxes imposed on these petroleum products have an impact on the air quality and level of air pollution. The significant differences between this study and those mentioned above are this study will look into the effectiveness of excise taxes imposed in petroleum products on lessening the level of air pollution in the Philippines, because we are one of the countries with very populated air. And we have just recently increased our excise taxes, and there are pending regulations, pending bills in the Congress pertaining to such. So this study will focus on the impact of the increase or decrease of excise taxes imposed on the petroleum products. So this is our conceptual framework. Miller and Vela, 2013, conducted a study about the effectiveness of environmental related taxes. They formulate a hypothesis that countries who have high environmental related taxes have a lower levels of pollution. They state that when countries implement tax on certain good, the price of these goods will increase that with a tax resulting to low production of these goods, which could lessen the air pollution. Their studies conclude that countries with high levels of environmental related taxes have lower emissions, including CO2. Furthermore, they also conclude that environmental related taxes have lower, sorry, they also conclude that environmental related taxes are effective in reducing pollution. The independent variable, as you can see here in the illustration, is the excise tax, specifically the different rates per liter of kilograms of excise tax in petroleum products. The rates of these taxes are obtained from the National Internal Revenue Code and the revenue regulations or other related issuances of the BIR. The dependent variable is the air pollution level. Since there are many ways to measure air pollution, we specifically choose PM2.5. It is a particular matter that has a diameter of less than 2.5 micrometers, which is about 3% of the diameter of a human hair. They are fine particles that are mostly composed of combustion particles. They're also the most dangerous of all sizes of particulate matter because it's a very high chance of being inhaled due to them having very small sizes. The data for PM2.5 are obtained from the reports of Environmental Management Bureau of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. The process used in this study is a data gathering, is explanatory data analysis, or commonly known as data mining. Okay, and then we also use the for data gathered, we make use of the correlation to determine the relationship of the two variables and to test our hypothesis. As mentioned, the data source is the National Internal Revenue Code and the environmental reports of the Environmental Management Bureau of the DENR. This study is assumed that, number one, PM2.5 found in the air is the best variable to measure air pollution being the most dangerous and harmful. PM2.5 is only composed of combustion particles, which comes from burning fuels, since according to studies, most of 2.5 particles are the combustion particles. Number three, the data gathered from the EMB, which comes from different monitoring stations in the Philippines, is accurate and representative of the entire area in the Philippines. And of course, there is a variation in the years, no? But I mean the 2.5 data were gathered. From the various data gathered, the level of 2.5 in the Philippines, we come up with those trends or graph using linear regression. So the data I am presenting here, no, is the excise tax rate per liter per kilogram. This is again based on the National Internal Revenue Code and the different types of petroleum products from the year 1996 to 2004, 2005 to 2017, and 2018 until the present. Okay, or the that's under the train law. And we also have here the levels of PM2.5 in the air, no, as presented by the Environmental Management Bureau. The figure here demonstrates the correlation between the increase in excise tax rates with air. This is on the air pollution index. So since PM2.5 comes primarily from combustion, one of the possible factors now of this trend, as you can see, it is decreasing, is that the increase in excise tax on petroleum products over the years. Okay, also the possible factors aside from excise tax, which could lessen the consumption of petroleum products, are the increasing net of excise tax prices of petroleum because of the prices where we import those petroleum products. Revenue regulations that limit the consumption of petroleum products. Okay, we also have the banning of the lead gasoline, which has the dangerous combustion of chemicals and improvement, and also the passage of Republic Act 8749, or the Philippine Clean Air Act. Okay, banning the use of charcoal and firewood for cooking in some areas in the Philippines, reducing industrial emissions, phasing out several vehicles over 15 years old. The figure here demonstrates the correlation between the increase in excise tax rates with the air pollution. The graph is made through using the line graph from the data gathered. The graph here shows that the level of 2.5 is decreasing, as you can see in the blue line. Okay, while the excise tax rates are increasing, as you can see in the red line. This means that the relationship between the excise tax rates and the level of PM 2.5 in the air is inverse, as you can just see here in the line graph. Therefore, the graph proves that the increase in excise tax rate in petroleum products is one of the factors of the decrease of the level of PM 2.5 in the air. This is mainly because one of the major sources of PM 2.5 are from the car engines, which use gasoline. When excise tax rates increase, it is expected that price of the petroleum product would also increase, and this may be unfavorable for some car users. Hence, the increase in excise tax on petroleum products would result to a lesser usage of car, since buying the product would need additional costs. Using the Pearson correlation, the nature of relationship of the two variables was found to be negative, as shown here in negative 0.857. This inverse relationship can be translated as the excise tax value is increased, there is good tendency of the recorded pollution decrease. This is indicated by the Pearson value of 0.857. However, due to the limitations of the data available from the data bank, the researchers cannot reject the null hypothesis, or the current data did not provide yet sufficient evidence to say that this negative relationship is significant, as you can see in the p-value of 0.344. This is because, again, of the limitations of the available data of the air pollution index in the Philippines. So therefore, we have to gather more data trends to be studied, and there are other factors, okay, that can be considered, no, in the decrease of air pollution. Okay, based on our observation, no, there are more Filipinos are buying car. Okay, so that can be one, no, of the activities, no, okay, or a product that can be regulated by the government that would contribute to the to lessen, okay, the air pollution. So based on the data gathered, the measures implemented of the government is not yet enough to control or regulate air pollution. Juros Maris and Brizga Janis in 2017 conducted a study in Latvia and says that Latvia uses a number of indirect subsidies to encourage pro-environmental behavior of households and firms. So this can be considered by the Philippine government. For example, exemption of excise duty on biofuel to stimulate the use of alternative fuel. Okay, and maybe some of us here in the country is using this, but it is not yet highly promoted by the government. Differentiated tax rates for leaded and unleaded petroleum. Okay, electricity produced from solar, wind, or other renewable energy resources are exempt from the electricity tax to stimulate the production and use of alternative energy. So maybe one of the example here is in Boracay. There's also they're really using electricity, no, powered vehicles. Moreover, the car registration and car circulation taxes are calculated based on their CO2 emissions or motor volume of older cars. So they also need to regulate the registration of a car, because as you can see, cars are very available in the Philippines. With the 10,000 pesos, you can already have your own car. Okay, so again, those are the suggestions, no? According to Maris and Janis in 2017. Despite this, the EEA in 2014 has found that new passenger cars in Latvia have the highest CO2 emissions in the European Union. So it is on the passenger cars, which are very abundant here in the Philippines. So to conclude this presentation, it is evident from the findings that excise tax on petroleum products affect the level of air pollution. Excise tax rates on petroleum products and the level of PM 2.5 has an inverse relationship. This means that the higher the excise tax rates imposed on petroleum products, the lower the level of PM 2.5 in the air would be. Simply saying, the government must strengthen the regulation of fuel consumption and imposition or collection of excise taxes on the petroleum products to attain the purpose of the tax imposition. Because that's what I've said, imposing of excise taxes would not be enough to control air pollution. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Team University of San Jose Recoletos, for that very timely scholarly paper. So at this point, we'd like to hear some reactions from Professor Edmarc Rustico from the
Right.
University of St. LaSalle, Bacolod.
Thank you very much, Professor Alhar. I also would like to thank the researchers for presenting their paper with us. Indeed, it is very timely and relevant to all of us who are here in this seminar. So in these current times, the effects of global warming have been felt more than ever. Corporations have been tagged as the main contributor to the environmental decline. This calls for all sectors to work hand in hand in giving our share to help combat the continuous deterioration of the environment. For us academics, we can do this through our research. And there have been several critiques about business and even accounting researches about their bias towards topics that improve business performance. Some are labeled as investigations geared towards setting policies that drive profitability. Seldom do we see researches that connect business or accounting concepts with environmental concerns, and this paper is one of those. The research has attempted to bridge the gap between accounting researches and environmental concerns. This opened our minds that even policies and taxation can be used as a way to limit carbon footprints. The researchers have proven that accounting researches can be used as a tool to help preserve our environment by bringing awareness of similar investigations. Another strength of this paper is in its use of the current literatures. The researchers made use of convincing literatures to develop their argument and point the research gap. Reviewing literature is one skill that the researchers must develop over time, and this paper highlighted the researchers' level of competence. I also like the fact that the paper recommended to broaden the database to come up with a more conclusive results, because more conclusive results could mean that this could be used as a policy for the government to set regulations and even laws that would protect the environment as well. Lastly, the article is an addition to the limited studies done in the Philippines having the same concept. This can also serve as a springboard for other researchers who may want to pursue similar inquiry. Reports reveal that Philippines is identified as one of the most vulnerable countries in terms of negative effect of global warming, and these types of studies are really an eye-opener. So I'd like to thank the researcher for sharing the results of the investigation. May this inspire our fellow accounting educators, even those who are in the other sector, to follow what you have begun. That would be all, Dr. Alhar.
Yes, thank you, Edmarc, inputs and for sharing with us your valued observations. So at this point, as our way of expressing our gratitude to Team University of San Jose Recoletos, may we request Dr. Naranjo, Sir Edmarc Rustico, and Mark Vincent Bendo to witness the presentation of this certificate to the University of San Jose Recoletos. I'm sorry, the presenters rather. May I read the certificate of presentation to Cedric Val R. Naranjo, PhD, University of San Jose Recoletos, for presenting a research paper titled The Effect of Excise Tax in Petroleum Products to the Air Pollution Level in the Philippines during the Second Joint National Accountancy Research Summit and Conference on October 19 to 20. Given this 19th day of October 2020, signed President Lope Bato of PICPA, Chairman Evelyn Corpus of the PICPA Foundation, and President Dr. Florence Tugas of the National Association of CPAs in Education. So congratulations, and our heartfelt gratitude for the very beautiful presentation. Okay.
Yes, Dr. Alahar, let's also award the certificate of appreciation to our reactor.
Okay. Yeah, this presentation would not have been complete without, of course, our valued reactors, namely Mr. Edmark Rustico, Mark Vincent Bendo. No? So please accept this humble certificate from the PICPA, PICPA Foundation, and NACPAE. We'd like to present this certificate to Mark Vincent Bendo of De La Salle University for his invaluable contribution as reactor during the second Joint National Accountancy Research Summit and Conference. Given this 19th day of October 2020, signed President Bato of PICPA, the chairman of the PICPA Foundation, Ms. Evelyn Corpus, and President of NACPAE, Dr. Florence Tugas. And the same holds true for Edmark Rustico as well, no? Okay, from the University of St. La Salle, Bacolod, for your valued contribution as reactor during this second Joint National Accountancy Research Summit and Conference on October 19 to 20, given today, the 19th day of October 2020, signed President Bato PICPA, Chair Evelyn Corpus of the PICPA Foundation, and President Dr. Florence Tugas of the National Association of CPAs in Education. Okay, so to conclude the whole day session, may I share with you some learnings, no? As we bring to a close the first day of our National Research Summit and Conference, allow me to underscore once again the importance of research to propel the upliftment of the accountancy profession to a higher plane of excellence and service in accordance with the competency framework of global professionals as shared with us by our BOA chair, Dr. Noe, a while ago. The formidable challenge of producing excellent and scholarly accounting research should always be an important agenda on the table of our professional organizations, specifically the Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the PICPA Foundation, as well as the National Association of CPAs in Education, and not to be forgotten are our educational institutions. If we really want if we really want our professional accountants, no, and would-be accountants to remain competitive, relevant, and responsive in addressing the many challenges, issues, concerns, and opportunities provided by the 21st century, especially during these troubled times where we get to appreciate more our profession under the new normal working and learning conditions. And it is also my hope that we all remember 2020, not only as the COVID-19 year, but a significant time when we open our hearts, our minds, our souls to uncharted ways of living, working, and being, where scholarly research plays a very important role in shaping the future directions of our accountancy profession. It is also my hope that the insights as well as the recommendations brought forward this day by our valued resource speakers and reactors can assist our academic institutions and national professional organizations in crafting a roadmap which will put premium to accountancy research if we wish to have accounting professionals prepared to face the unforeseen future. Seeing the accounting research presented this afternoon by our young students and graduates, I am optimistic. I remain positive that there is so much hope for accounting research in the Philippines to be at par with those produced by other progressive countries. We have brilliant minds around, especially among our young and the leaders of the profession, who see accounting research in a much more inspired light for their accounting education and the accounting program and the accounting profession. And with that, we conclude the first day of our National Research Summit and Conference. We hope to see you tomorrow as we continue to witness other great works of our future entrants to the profession. So I guess that's all. Dr. Tugas and the rest of the organizers, thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this important learning experience. Have a pleasant afternoon, and may God bless us always as we all continue praying for one another. Thank you.